welcome to this session of Step 2 in Covidence, Screening, a Beginner's Guide to Title and Abstract and Full-Text Screening. We're going to walk you through Title and Abstract and Full-Text Screening in Covidence, and we will also give you some information about recent updates to the platform. My name is Stephanie Harkins. I'm a community manager at Covidence, and I'm based in the United States. I'm joined today by my colleague, Julie Brown, who's also a community manager based in New Zealand. Today's session is being run in standard webinar mode. All webinar attendees will be muted. You can ask questions at any time. Please enter those in the question box, which you'll be able to see on the right-hand side of your screen. If we don't have time to answer your questions before the session ends, we will follow up with you via email afterwards. The session is being recorded, and everyone who is registered will also receive a link to the recording of this webinar by email within about 24 hours. I'm going to provide you a little bit of contextual information about Covidence for anyone here that has not already used the platform. Covidence is a not-for-profit organization. Our mission is to change the way the world creates and uses trustworthy knowledge. Covidence was created by and for the research community, and it's designed to streamline the review process. Our software allows you to invite co-reviewers and manage and have oversight of the review process. The platform allows our review teams to significantly reduce the amount of time spent on reviews, meaning that you're able to produce high quality evidence faster. And we have a full-time team based around the globe, continuously working on improving the product and providing technical support to our global user community. The platform is entirely cloud-based, meaning there's nothing to download, and we support the world's largest review community with almost more than 300,000 users around the globe. And the focus of our session today is about screening in Covidence, and during this segmented series, we'll take you through the first two stages of the platform, so title and abstract and full text screening stages. And much of what you'll see today is part of what we demonstrate in our monthly Covidence 101 webinars, but we're just going to go a little slower and give you a little more detail. So before we start the session, I'm going to begin with a poll. We'd like to find out about how confident you are in screening in Covidence. So let me go ahead and launch this. And I'm also going to turn my video off for the live demonstration. So please go ahead and fill out this poll, and then we'll get started. I'll give you a few more moments to fill the poll out. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now and share the results. So it looks about 7% of you are very confident, 44% are somewhat confident, and 49% of you are not confident at all. Hopefully we will boost your confidence during this session. Thank you so much for casting your answer. All right, let's go back here to this. And so here are some of the features I'm going to take you through today for title and abstract screening. So we'll be looking at voting, viewing eligibility criteria, abstracts, highlights, adding notes, tags, and filtering by tags, undoing votes, machine learning for screening, and resolving conflicts. Then I'm also going to show you all full text screening. And for full text screening, we'll also look at voting, resolving conflicts, providing reasons for exclusion, and I'll briefly go through options for uploading PDFs. But the actual full text PDF upload, we do have a step-by-step webinar for that. So I'll briefly show you that, but won't go into too much detail. All right, so I'm gonna move off of my slides now and go into a live demonstration of the platform. So I am going to go over here now to my Covidence account. And I'm going to take you to a review that we have going underway. So under my current reviews tab, I'm going to click on this one that we have underway. So, and again, I'm going to show you mainly title and abstract screening and full text review today. I'm going to touch on some settings as well, but this is an active review. So all of these steps, so import, title and abstract screening, full text review, and extraction are all built into the platform. These are the three main steps. And like I said, we are mainly going to just focus on these two here today. So to start off, I'll show you title and abstract screening. I'll minimize this here. So to start off with title and abstract screening. So this is, I'll note, Covidence starts with your user journey. So your individual user journey, you can see here, I am logged in as myself. And this team progress bar on the left-hand side of the screen is the team progress. So this is what everyone will see. These numbers will be the same for all of your review team who's invited to collaborate on this review. And the numbers on the right-hand side are going to be unique to your personal Covidence account and what you have screened so far in a particular review project. So you'll see here, these numbers will be different for your personal account, but these numbers here will be the same for everyone on the team. Now, when I click continue, this is how your screening list looks. At this point, you're going to make decisions based on your ability to see the information in both the title and the abstract. As would be implied by the title, you're making a decision based off of only the information available in the title, in the abstracts that are available. And you can make the decision, yes, maybe, or no, to do this. So for example here, this reference does not have an abstract loaded. So I might want to vote maybe on this. A maybe vote is treated as a yes vote for the purposes of moving it forward in the review, meaning that maybe I should include this. I need to get a little bit more information. So perhaps you need to look at the full text of the article before making the final decision to include or exclude. So that's a maybe vote. Hopefully a yes vote and a no vote are a little bit more straightforward. So a yes vote is definitely yes, I want to include this in my review, or move on to the next step of full text review. And then a no would move it to the irrelevant references if it's received 2 no votes. So, and if you realize that you've sped up and accidentally clicked the wrong thing in the screen here, you can do a quick undo, and this will undo any vote that you've cast during this session. So you can do 2 undos there. I'll leave that first one that I voted on. So I'll show you, so that is a yes, maybe, and no vote. If I've voted yes, no, maybe, or no, and I'm the first person to vote on a reference, it will move to your awaiting other reviewer tab. So this means the default is voting with 2 people. I'll show you in the settings here in a minute how to change from 2 to 1 reviewer, but the default setting is 2 reviewers required to screen references. So if you're the first person to vote, the reference will be in your awaiting other reviewer tab. From here, you can have the opportunity to change your vote if you feel that you need to do so. If a reference has received 2 no votes, it will be moved to your Irrelevant References tab in Title and Abstract Screening. And then if a voting conflict arises, so that means if a reference has received a yes and a no vote, you'll see who voted but not how they voted, and it will require a third and adjudicating vote. So you'll need to make the third vote with a final decision of yes, maybe, or no. And as I mentioned, the maybe vote is treated as a yes vote for the purposes of moving it forward in the review, because it means maybe, I'm not sure, based off of the information that I'm seeing here in the title and the abstract. So I'll go back here to the screening tab just to show you some features and functionality that we have to help speed up and enhance your screening process. First, I'll show you highlights. So your highlights you can add in the settings, and I'll show you how to add a highlight here in a moment, but I wanted to show you them in action first. So you can show highlights. Any green words here that you see highlighted are an inclusion criteria. That really helps it jump off the page and see any inclusion words. And then red are any exclusion words. So you can add inclusion and exclusion word highlights to view as you are screening your references. And once one team member has added highlights, the entire review team will be able to see those highlights. Go ahead and hide those. Something else that we have actually recently introduced, we've always had our criteria here. This is a list, but we've recently introduced the PICO format. So before we've just had regular inclusion and exclusion criteria. Now you have the option, if it works for you in your project's workflow, to implement PICO question inclusion and exclusion criteria. And I'll show you how to add this in settings here in a moment, but just so you know, this is a sticky list here that all of your screeners will be able to see as they move through and vote on references. One moment here. I'll also note you can add tags to certain articles by clicking the tick box here. You'll have the option to add a tag to a study. If you need to, it's an ongoing study, you need to come back to this study, you can tick that box there and it will apply a tag. You can also add notes to references. You can, I'll say test note here, and you can add a note to references. Just note that notes and tags are not blinded like your votes are. So as you're voting through Covidence, you won't be able to see how your co-reviewers have voted until it's been moved forward and you're done with the title and abstract screening portion. So your votes are blinded, but just be aware that your tags and notes are not blinded. So here, I'll move to irrelevant references. So you'll see here any tags, notes. I'll note that you can view the history as well. So if a reference has received 2 votes for no, that means it will be done with the voting for that reference, and you'll be able to view the history by clicking history and seeing all the voting history there. This one is pretty complicated, you've seen. So it looks like we've returned some to title and abstract screening. If you realize, actually, I didn't mean to vote that way, I showed you how to undo your vote while as you're screening, you can click undo. But if you need to come back to some studies and realize that you want to undo the votes, you can click on move to screening, and then it will return it. It will undo the votes and return it to your screening references here. I'll also note our most relevant sort option. So the default is most relevant, and this is one of our relatively recently implemented AI or machine learning features in Covidence. The most relevant sort option will move the studies most relevant to your study, to your systematic review, up to the top of the list based off of how you and your co-reviewers have been screening so far. So the prediction model score will be blinded to you, but the most relevant sort option will hopefully help you and your team move your title and abstract screening faster and move included studies forward to the full text review phase a little bit faster. You can also sort by most recent, title, or author. I'll show you an author sort here. You can sort by author, and I'll also note you can mark something as a duplicate as well if you realize that you need to, if a duplicate has slipped through the cracks, you can manually mark something as a duplicate, and I'll show you how to look at those here in a moment. So I'm going to go back here to our review summary page, and I'm going to click on settings. So here in settings, you'll see here an area of research, medical and health sciences. This is a study about vitamin C, but Covidence is amazing for any other types of systematic reviews, scoping reviews, rapid reviews, umbrella reviews, or just a regular literature review. But one of the machine learning features that we've recently implemented, one of our newest features, is to automatically tag studies reporting on randomized control trials. And this feature will only be available to you if you select the area of research to be medical and health sciences. So this is a machine learning or active learning to help move studies through to the full text review phase faster. So I showed you how to add tags individually. This, if you tick this box here, it will automatically tag studies reporting on randomized control trials as a possible RCT or not an RCT. And this is used by, this is implemented using the Cochrane RCT classifier. So this is a machine learning feature, another machine learning feature in addition to the most relevant sort option that I showed you just a few moments ago. And here in the settings as well, as I mentioned, the default setting is for 2 reviewers required for screening. I'll mention that you can change this to 1. So that would require from 2 votes per reference to a single reviewer, 1 reviewer to cast their vote in Covidence. So this means that a single reviewer will only require 1 vote for your team to be able to move on to the next stage of the review. And this is all separate for your title and abstract screening, full text review, and data extraction. I would like to caution you though to collaborate with your review team prior to establishing your settings like this before screening, because changing this setting during the voting process will have an impact on future voting at this stage. So for instance, if your team decides to adjust the settings to 1 and start the voting process and later decide to change the settings to 2, those references that have moved forward with 1 vote will not be available for the second reviewer to vote. And that those references have already moved forward. And if you were to change from 2 to 1, the references that have received 1 vote will move forward with 1 single vote. So make sure you discuss this with your team prior to screening to avoid any confusion around this process. So those are the, I've showed you so far on this screen, our machine learning or active learning option to automatically tag studies, and reviewers required to screen. Another thing that I want to show you here in settings is eligibility criteria. So this was that the eligibility, the criteria, the PICO question that I showed you, as I mentioned earlier. So we've recently introduced the PICO format for this, which we hope is a helpful improvement for you all. So as I mentioned, you could see that PICO list. This is where you would input that list. And once one person on your team inputs it, the rest of the team will be able to see it. So you can do your PICO question, but if you do not use, if you're not using a PICO format and that doesn't work for your team, you can just add things in the other section and then you won't see the rest of this, of the PICO options. You can just add other regular inclusion or exclusion criteria. But I'll also note too, PICO is very a medical health sciences question format. If you are working in another discipline or PICO doesn't work for your question, you can also use it for PECO, which is just PECO. So instead of the I being an intervention, the E in PECO, and hopefully I'm saying that correctly, a PECO would be if there's just an exposure. So if an intervention doesn't work for you and the format for questioning you are using in your systematic review or your review project, keep in mind that intervention is not the only option here. You can make this work for your project, for exposure or context instead of the comparison or intervention. And of course, as I mentioned, if neither of those work for you, you can just add things to the other section or study characteristics even too, if that's helpful information for you all. So that is how to add your eligibility criteria to make it visible in the title and abstract screening stage that I showed you. Here is also where you can add highlights. So those red and green highlights that I showed you, green for your inclusion criteria and red for your exclusion criteria. This is where you would add those words or phrases to your list and how you can make those visible to the rest of your team. So everyone on your team has the ability to add or remove highlights, and everyone on the team will be able to see them in action if you have added them to the review project. Here also is where you can add full text exclusion reasons. I have not showed you full text review yet, but while we're here in the settings, I'm going to be showing you full text next. So this is where you can add full text exclusion reasons. So when you vote to exclude, we'll ask you to select a reason. This is where you can add those reasons, just so I show you everything here in the eligibility criteria. Also, this is where you can manage and add study tags. You can add study tags within the screen, but this is where you can add additional or remove tags. So you can remove tags as well. The only two that you can't remove are ones that have already been preloaded into the system of awaiting classification or an ongoing study. The rest you would need to manually add and manually delete. So I'll pause here for a second. Julie, are there any questions that I can answer about title and abstract screening in the settings that I've shown so far?
Not so much in settings. We have had a question come through about sorting by tags.
Yes.
So using the filter option. I wonder if you could just show that. I think that would be useful for everyone.
Of course, thank you. Okay, so here I am back in the title and abstract screening. You can filter by tag. So the default little list here, you can select a tag and hit filter. And this will filter down anything with this tag. So you can filter by tag, which is one of the very, very useful features of tagging. So you can then filter by tag later on in the review. So you can filter by tag, and I'll also add you can search by keyword too. So this would help if I put everything. You can search by authors as well. You can search by everything. So if I just search by keyword cancer, it will search keywords as well. So you can filter by keyword or an author. I'll try typing in the last name Smith. Surely there's a Smith in my list for an author, and we'll see here. Yes, we got it. We found 2 Smiths. So we have, you can filter by author, keyword within the title and abstract, or the tags. I'm going to hit clear here. Are there any other questions, Julie, that are helpful to show? Okay then, well, I'm not hearing any other questions. So that I've showed you title and abstract screening and some of the settings. So now let's take a look at the full text review stage. I'll minimize this. So I'm looking at full text review. So as I initially demonstrated, studies will automatically move through the review process as they're voted on. And if reviewers vote to vote yes or maybe to include studies at the title and abstract stage, then they will appear here in the full text review stage. And I'll also note, similar to the title and abstract screening section, the numbers here on the left are the team progress, and these numbers will be the same for everyone. And these numbers here on the right are unique to my individual Covidence account. And I'll note here to go into a little more detail about what these numbers mean. So a done vote means that the reference has received the required number of votes to either be moved forward to extraction or excluded. So 71 have received the 2 votes or a third adjudicating vote if a conflict arose. So moving on here to conflicts, that's pretty self-explanatory. If there's a conflict, so if voters voted to include or exclude, and there's a voting conflict, that's a conflict. And then 1 vote means a reference has only received 1 vote and it is awaiting another reviewer to cast their vote. And then no votes means that a reference has not received any votes at all yet. So no votes have been cast on 192 references in this case. So that's how you interpret the team progress bar here. And again here, so this is for all of the team, and then this is for my personal account and what I can screen in full text review. So I have 193 that I can screen and 3 conflicts I could resolve. So I am going to click continue here. So when you start full text screening, the review summary page is the same for title and abstract screening. But the main difference is when I click continue, the first between title and abstract and full text review is that there are now only 2 voting options, to include or to exclude. So in title and abstract, you had the option to vote yes, maybe, or no. Here, you're going to be making the final decision to include this particular study in your review or to exclude it from your review. And I'll actually show here, show abstract. So I didn't show you this in the title and abstract screening stage, but you can view or hide or show abstracts. So you can hide abstracts here, and as it would denote in full text review, you are going to want to be reviewing the full text instead of just the title and abstract that are available in your initial import into Covidence. So here you're going to actually, in this stage of the review, you're going to actually be viewing the full text of the references to vote to include or exclude. So I'll show an example of a vote here. So I can vote to include, and I can undo that vote immediately, just as in the title and abstract screening stage, or you can vote to exclude. And when you vote to exclude, you will be required to select an exclusion reason. So I showed you in the settings where to add those exclusion reasons under eligibility criteria. You can add them in settings, or you can edit this list within the application here, and you can add exclusion reasons. So you can add, remove within this screen as well as in the settings. And the exclusion and the purpose of an exclusion reason is to populate the PRISMA flowchart. So I'll show you the PRISMA flowchart at the end, but this will populate your PRISMA flowchart. So you'll be able to see the reason that a study was excluded, and it will populate the PRISMA flowchart that Covidence will automatically generate for you. So if you've voted, actually I'm going to cancel that. So as you vote on studies, they will move to where they need to go. So if you were the first reviewer to vote on something, it will be in your awaiting other reviewer tab, where you can still, just as in the title and abstract screening stage, if you are in the awaiting other reviewer, you can have the opportunity to change your vote before somebody else casts their vote. But if a voting conflict arises, so if somebody votes to include and exclude, a voting conflict will arise. But the main difference in full text review versus the title and abstract screening is that there are two types of conflicts that can arise. So hopefully it's self-explanatory why a conflict would arise if one person on the team voted to include and one person on the team voted to exclude. That creates a conflict. There's a second type of conflict for the exclusion reason. So I think the ones showing up in my resolved conflicts are going to be for the exclusion reason. So we often recommend to our users to come up with a hierarchy of exclusion reasons as a review team. So for example, a hierarchy meaning if it's not a randomized control trial, for example. So if it's not a randomized control trial, we don't want to include this, and that's your baseline reason. Maybe lots of other things are a reason for exclusion as you take a closer look, but the first one on that hierarchy would be not a RCT. That can be a reason, and then that will cut down on having to resolve voting conflicts in the full text review stage. So that can be helpful to agree on your exclusion reasons or have an idea of a hierarchy of them as a team before you vote to exclude. And this will still maintain the blinding and the rigor of your review, but you can make the selection here, and this would be the third and adjudicating vote that's required for to have votes cast. So if I choose to exclude this and it's received 2 excluded votes, then it will move here, and these would be the voting would be done on anything in the excluded references tab. You'll be able to see when it was excluded and why it was excluded. So you can just have one exclusion reason. You cannot have 2 in the platform. So that's why we have the voting conflict. The reason will be populated here. And you can also see the voting history here as well for This is a pretty complicated voting history, actually, but you'll be able to see the voting history here as well. So that's how the references will move through the review as you vote. But here in screening, as I mentioned, you're going to be wanting to look at the actual full text of the studies instead of just the title and abstract. So you can individually upload full text. So you can choose a file of a PDF or drag and drop a PDF to attach to this particular study, or you can provide a link to full text, whichever works best for you all. Maybe if it's a gray literature source, there's not a PDF really available, you can put the link to the website or to the full text of where you got a source. Whatever works best for your workflow and your team, you can add a link instead. And I'll also note that in Covidence, actually, and I'll show you a filter feature here, you can, in full text, you can filter by studies that have full text and studies that need full text. So for the purposes of what I want to show you, I'm going to click on has full text. So this will be the studies that have got a full text uploaded. And you'll be able to see who uploaded the full text. I'm just scrolling here to see an example. Here we go. Here's an example. So during full text review, Covidence will automatically add the full text of any open access articles when the study moves into full text review. So you'll be able to see, so we use this based off of the DOI that's included at import, and we use a service called Unpaywall to automatically load any open access articles to cut down on the amount of full text articles you have to load individually or in bulk. So we'll automatically add these for you, but if an individual on the team does load the full text, you will be able to see who did. So Julie, who's helping answer questions now, looks like she uploaded this full text. So you can individually add them, as I said, and you can filter by has full text or needs full text. And then you'll be able to see that here. So just let me clear that and bring that up. I have to scroll pretty far down there. So you can filter by needs or has full text. We also have the option to bulk upload missing full text. So the bulk upload is whereby you can export a list of studies that need full text to use in a reference manager, either EndNote or Zotero, to source the PDF. And then from there, you can export the PDF in the XML to a local drive and then bring everything back into Covidence. So I am not going to delve too deep here into the bulk PDF upload. We have an entire hour-long webinar dedicated to the bulk upload or retrieving full text. So you can watch that next webinar. I don't want to inundate you with too much information, but just know that that is an option, and we have some guides specifically for both EndNote and Zotero. And you'll be able to see the bulk upload history as well. Okay, are there any questions, Julie, about full text review that I can answer?
Yeah, we do have a couple of interesting ones that I think everyone would be interested to find out the reasons. So can you just go back over, so if two reviewers have excluded a study with different reasons, how is that going to be reflected? So could you just go back to conflict resolution and show that?
So if two people have voted on a study and they've both voted to exclude, but they've selected different exclusion reasons, that will create a voting conflict. So you will have to select a reason if you're able to resolve the conflict, select the reason and then click save. And then that will move it to the excluded references tab, because then you're the third and final vote. So that's how that would work. You'll have to cast the third and adjudicating vote, because only one you can only have one exclusion reason that'll populate the PRISMA flowchart. And I'll show you that PRISMA flowchart actually quickly here too, and maybe that'll help make it make more sense to you. So I'm back here on the review summary page, and I'm going to click on PRISMA. So in this in-app version, you'll see exclusion reasons populated here. So you'll be able to see this will update as you vote on studies. So you'll see exclusion reasons. You can view this as text as well. If you want to copy and paste this, but relatively recently, we've implemented a download docx. Let me see here. Let me pull this up for you all. So you can download. Let me bring this over here. There we go. You can, and we've tried to align our PRISMA flow diagram with the PRISMA 2020 guidelines as much as we can. So this is a completely editable document that you can use at your discretion for any publications that you're doing. It also has the date stamp here, so you'll know at what point in time you exported your PRISMA, and feel free to edit this as you need for your particular publication, because we wanted a docx that you can edit, because different journals have different requirements for a PRISMA flowchart. So even if you're not able to use this 100% as given to you, hopefully it gives you a very good start. It gives you a great start rather than doing it from scratch. So it will automatically detect detect the duplicates and show you how many duplicates were detected and removed, which is actually something I don't think I showed you guys. So I'll briefly show you those duplicates. So you'll be able to see your system detected duplicates. And as you go, if you saw any duplicates that slipped through the cracks, you can manually mark them as a duplicate. So you'll see here the system detected duplicates versus the manually marked duplicates here. What were the other questions, Julie, about full text review?
So this covers both full text and title and abstract screening, but I wonder if you could just go to the Interrater reliability and show our users how to export that.
Of course. So here on the review summary page, I'm going to click on export. So we automatically calculate the Interrater reliability and also the Cohen's kappa for title and abstract screening and full text review separately. So I'll show you that now. So it will calculate the Interrater reliability among different reviewers, the two different reviewers who are casting votes. And it'll also calculate the Cohen's kappa and the Interrater reliability. So this is a great thing that you do not have to calculate on your own. And you can use that in when you write up your projects. While I'm in here in export, I'll also note you can export different study lists. So in that bulk PDF import option that I showed you, you can export lists that are missing full text. You can also export lists, the title and abstract screening list, full text review, irrelevant, included, and excluded. So you can export your lists, and you can export in CSV format or any reference manager compatible format. And I'll note here, we'll often get questions into the support inbox. Why is my title and abstract screening list blank? So our export function works in a way that the lists are based off where studies are currently located in the review. So if you have completed all of the title and abstract screening, so if all of your references are marked as done in title and abstract screening, your title and abstract screening list would be blank. So if you've just completed title and abstract screening, but you want a list of all of the references you screened in title and abstract, you would need to export two lists, full text review and irrelevant. If you voted no in title and abstract, that will move references to irrelevant. And then if you voted yes or maybe, that would move them forward to full text review. So that would get all of the studies in those lists. If you need a full list of those, you'd need to export the two different lists to get all of those, just to, so you all know that, because we get questions about that.
Could you just go back and show the users again how to get Interrater reliability? So if you could just go back to the
absolutely
summary page and then just go show how to find export.
I'll even start here on my Covidence homepage. So if you're like, I've just logged in, where do I go from here? So you'll see your current reviews list. I've been showing you the review vitamin C for the common cold. So you can go into your current reviews page. This is what it will look like. Click export, and then you can select if you want title and abstract or full text review, and then you can export your CSV. Then you'll have the history of your recent exports. I think it keeps it for 7 days, right, Julie? So we'll have a 7-day history of exports.
That's correct.
And you'll see the Interrater reliability scores there.
Perfect. We've also got a question about whether you can have more than one tag on a reference at once.
Oh, yes, definitely. You can have more than one tag. Let me show you. You'll just need to add. So I'm showing you, hopefully I didn't click too fast there. So I'm in title and abstract screening now to add a tag. So it's grayed out now because I haven't selected a reference. So I'll select my reference I want to add a tag to, and then I can add, I'll say come back to this study and ongoing. So I've selected these two tags. Really, I think there's an unlimited number of tags that you can add. You probably don't want 20 tags on a reference, but you can add as many as you need. So you can see there's 4 tags now, and if you accidentally added one, you can remove them just as easy as clicking the X. And as I mentioned before, note that the tags are not blinded, so be aware of that as you are tagging studies, that if you're the first person to vote on something, that the second person to come in to vote would be able to see the tag.
Great, Stephanie, there's another question about conflicts. So our user has asked if Covidence tracks the number of conflicts. So are we able to keep that record, or do the conflicts, once they're resolved, do they just keep moving onwards?
Good question. So you'll be able to see, we do keep track of the conflicts in the history. So you'll be able to view, 1 second here, let me click on a good example of one. Let me click, sorry guys, I think those were added directly into relevant. Let me click most recent. Yes, so okay, 2 here. I'm trying to find one that will have a voting conflict, but a conflict would show up. How the conflict is cast will be shown here. And a voting conflict does affect your Interrater reliability scores. If there's a disagreement in voting, that a voting conflict would affect your Interrater reliability scores. But you'll be able to see the voting history of references by clicking on the history tab. But you'll only be able to see the history tab for references that are done. And I'm saying that you can't see my air quotes right now, but done. So if a reference is done, so meaning that if it's received the 2 requisite votes and isn't irrelevant, or if it's moved forward to full text review, in full text review, you'll be able to see the voting history for title and abstract. But you won't be able to see the history until the voting is done within each section. So title and abstract screening and full text review are treated as 2 different sections in the review. So just know that. Hopefully that answers your question. Julie, do you have anything to add about that?
Yeah, I think it's also useful to note that you can't export the conflicts list. Mm-hmm. If you want to know, if you want to make a manual recording of how many conflicts were identified, you can do that. But as soon as you start resolving conflicts, the number goes down. So you can see the studies that had conflicts, but you can't export those studies, and neither does that number appear anywhere. It doesn't appear on the PRISMA figure, for example.
Correct. So if for some reason you want to record a vote, see your voting conflicts, make your team aware, don't resolve any conflicts yet. If that's what you and your team want to do and you want to record that number relatively easily, everyone can vote, and once everybody has 0 here left to screen on the team, and so if there's nothing here that says in the 1 vote and the no votes, if that's all completely done, if there's none left to screen, you can record the voting conflict then. As Julie said, you won't be able to export a list. You will only be able to see it in the voting history.
And I'll also add that the number of conflicts that you have doesn't affect your Interrater reliability. So don't think that by resolving conflicts you're going to change your Interrater reliability output. That's based on the original votes that were cast, not on whether you resolve those differences or not.
Correct. And Julie, before I start answering too many other questions, I do want to show you all, since we just have a few minutes left, our knowledge base. So in your personal account, you'll have a little question button here, and you can click out to our knowledge base, and you'll be able to see here we have pretty extensive articles written on all different stages of the process. If you're interested in registering for another webinar, this was a step 2 webinar, you'll be able to register for a webinar, as many of you may have already done. We'll send them out via email too if you have your updates for Covidence set to receive emails. And if you need any help as you're going, you can search in our knowledge base, but also just send us an email at support@covidence.org. Both Julie and I manage that support inbox. So if you've ever written into us before, one of us may have answered you, so you can send us an email if you need help as well. Before everyone goes, I'm going to launch a poll, another poll for you all to see if this webinar has helped you. Now that you've seen the webinar, how confident do you feel about screening studies in your review in Covidence? So you can select very confident, somewhat confident, or not confident at all. I'm seeing Some answers rolling in. Thank you, thank you. I'll give you a few more seconds here.
Stephanie, just while that poll is running, we've had quite a few questions or comments come in about people who maybe have logged in a little bit late. Yes, this webinar is recorded. As you are all registered, you will receive a copy, an email that will receive a link to the webinar in it within the next 24 hours. And there will also be a link posted on our knowledge base page under the recent webinars section. So yes, everyone will be receiving a copy and be able to watch the webinar in their own time.
Great, thank you, yes. Okay, I'll close the poll now and share the results. So great here. So we've got a lot of people feeling quite a bit more confident, only 1% not confident at all still. So hopefully this has helped you all to become a bit more confident in using Covidence for screening. And we might have time for one more question, Julie, that I can answer. Is there another question that would be very useful for everyone?
Yep, I think so. I've got a question about how do you search an author's name in title and abstract screening? So not sorting by author, but actually search for them.
Great question. So here in title and abstract, I'll click continue. And then you can use the filter button here. So I showed this in full text review. It'll work same. You can do a fuzzy search or exact match. I'll do another search for Smith, and hopefully there's a Smith in here. But you can search by author. And then you'll be able to see here, someone is Smith in this list here somewhere. So you can search by author that way. So if you're looking for a particular study, if you know you need to find one of them, you can search by author here under the filter function. And then you'll just type in, so I'm just typing in, so I'm typing in my word now, and then I'm clicking enter. Actually, I should have made that clear before. So I type in my keyword, my author word, the thing I'm trying to search, and then hit enter, and that's what makes it. So I've typed in my word, and then I'm hitting enter, and that's making it go here. And then I can click filter that way. All right, so I think that we are just at time now. Thank you all so much for your time and attention, and we appreciate your questions and your feedback. And if you are watching the recording to this, thank you so much for making it all the way through. Thank you and bye.